Welcome to another Mother Runner, your best running friend in podcast form. We do all the talking, even on those pesky uphills. I'm your host, Sarah Bowen Shea, along with co-host Amanda Loudin. Hello, Amanda.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah.
So you and I have not talked since you did an epic one-day, 41-mile hike
Yeah.
that you need to tell us about.
I had so much fun. But let me set the stage first of all. So it was Memorial Day weekend. And I don't know, this seems to happen in Maryland every once in a while, but we have these really crappy Memorial Day weekends, and this was one of them. It was the temperature range was just the 50s, and it rained the entire time. And so I think that worked to my advantage because I am an overheater. A couple of my friends who worry about cold, I think they were really freaked out in advance of it. So we started. There were six of us who started. It was my friend Becky and her husband Nick. Actually, he was the lone male with us, and then my other two running friends, Lisa and Maura, and then one of Maura's friends who happens to be a state delegate here. And we started out, and you have pretty strict cutoffs on this. They had eight aid stations along their way.
Oh, this was a legitimate thing. I thought this was just you all for kicks hiking the segment of the Appalachian Trail in Maryland. Oh,
No,
I didn't realize this was
it was
an
a
event.
it's a planned event by the Maryland Mountain Club, and it's every other year apparently, and they organize it. And so you go and you spend the night before in like a YWCA camp, and then they bus you to the start at 5:15 in the morning, and then everyone starts. And so you start in the dark with your headlamps on, and there are about 100 people who started, and so they have 8 aid stations along their way, and they have very specific cutoffs. Like if you're not making the aid station by a certain time, you're off the course. And that's all for safety and everything else. And so it was a well-oiled machine, and it was fantastic. And so we started out, the 6 of us, and early on, first couple of miles in, there's a stream crossing. And I look back behind me and I see 2 of my friends just doing a U-turn, and off they went. And I'm like, okay. And now there are 4. So that's how it went. So we were hustling and moving along well, but still at the mile 20 cutoff, or aid station, they had like wraps and sandwiches and like all this wonderful stuff. But when we were leaving that, they're like, you just had 5 minutes to spare. Like we barely made that. And Sarah, I'm telling you, we were hustling. But we came out of that. And then after that, then we picked up our pace even more. And after that, we started really making up time. And like, I think we did the back half, like an hour 40 faster than the front half. So,
what pace are we talking for hiking?
So they tell you ahead of time, you need to be able to keep a 2.5 to 3 mile per hour pace, which Matt and I did a test hike of and several of us did for 18.5 miles, on the top part of from Pennsylvania down to 18.5 miles down. And we knew, our moving pace was right in that range, but you add in the aid stations and it slows down your overall pace,
sure.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, we were very conscious of that. And when we came into those aid stations, we were moving through, but you had to get your calories in because with the rain, and we were all using hiking poles because you can get into a really good rhythm with your poles on this section of the AT. So it really behooved you to have poles. So your hands were cold and they weren't working really well. And you got poles in one hand, and you're trying to open wrappers and things on the move. So that was really, really tough. And so when you came into this aid station, I was shoving food as hard as I could in. And I ate that sandwich at mile 20 faster than I've ever eaten a sandwich in my life. I mean, oh my God. But after we came out of that, we did in the end. So 100 people started. In the end, only 47 people finished.
Wow.
I think, it just, those cutoffs were tight.
Wow.
And, and it was for some people, it was miserable. I did not mind the conditions, but, yeah. So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Do you have
Yeah.
a sense of 47% of the starters finished? Do you have a sense of how that ranks for a typical one of these events? Like, is that low, high?
I don't know. That would be interesting to know. That would be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to know. But I do know
Mm-hmm.
on the second half, the Maryland delegate who was a friend of a friend, she and I kind of broke away from my friend and her husband, and it was just the two of us. Then there on out, and I feel like we never saw another person on the trail after that. Like it
Mm.
just like we got away from people, and I don't. There must just not have been too many people like nipping at our heels, and there wasn't anyone in front.
Mm.
I don't know, but I mean,
Mm.
it was. So I don't know what the final. Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
this year compared to other years, and just
Huh.
yeah, but it felt like we were pretty alone out there after a point. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah. So
Uh,
yeah,
uh.
but then it was a funny part of it was the final 3 miles around the C&O Canal, which is just flat gravel path, and so you come out of like the more technical part of it, and you come down, and to get to the C&O over here, just a set of train tracks. And so this woman Lorig and I, we get to the train track. There's a train. There's a train. I'm like, really? We have 3 miles to go, and we're gonna have to stop and wait for a train. It was so painful, like to get going again. When
Right.
you stop, and
Right.
we were like in a good rhythm, and like I
Oh,
really can't
shoot.
believe this. But we ran some good sections of that stretch, because once we crossed those train tracks and we're on the
Oh, my
C&O,
gosh.
I just said to her, she's an ultra runner, so I figured she was a good person to like, I could get her going with me. And I'd say, do you want to try a little running? And she's like, I guess, and we'd like start moving. She's like, oh
What's
God, oh
with
God, oh God, and I'm like, but it hurts if we're walking, it hurts if we're running. And to my mind, when we had like, a little over 3 miles to go, I'm like, this could take us 30 minutes or it could take us 50 minutes. Like
Yeah.
at this point, let's knock this thing out.
Yeah,
So
but you had to
yeah,
run with your poles in one hand, and
yep,
and you
yep,
had packs, and
yep,
you'd
yep,
gone
yep,
38 miles ahead of
yep.
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, but it was fine, it was good. It actually, I think, felt, it hurt, but like it was different muscles, at that
Uh-huh.
point. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. But I just thought it was great. I thought they organized it so well. I mean, the volunteers were amazing. I mean, they had to stand out there in that crappy weather all day long.
Yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
that's harder than moving through it, I think.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness. Wow. Well,
yeah,
congratulations. Good
yeah.
training for your
Thank you.
Adirondack peak bagging this summer, hopefully. So, yeah.
Yeah,
That's another story we
yeah.
might get into another time.
That's
It
a
has
whole
does
other
not have to
story.
do
Yeah.
directly with you.
No.
Amanda's fine, folks.
Yes. Yes.
We'll
I'm
keep them in
fine. My
suspense.
partner is not. Yes.
Uh, all right. Well, so in the topic that we're talking about today is one that we heard a lot about in the 15 years of AMR 1.0. So many women who are stressed about getting in their workouts while traveling with their family or on work trips. So, given that summer starts in a few days, I wanted to talk with active women who travel a fair bit for work or pleasure and who are creative and ingenious about getting in their workouts while traveling, especially when following a training plan. We'll be talking to two guests, but first, Amanda and I will share a bit about staying active while traveling when we return from this brief sponsor break. Stick around. Okay, you want to laugh, Amanda? I recently read an article on the Discoverer blog entitled 10 Items You Always Pack But Don't Really Need. So I was like, oh, what is it? I mean, some of them were one was a neck pillow, one was an umbrella, which I would never pack an umbrella. But then get a load of this. Stop and ask yourself if you really plan to work out on your vacation. Will you wear athletic gear out and about if you're going to a place where that's not the norm? Looking at you, Europe. Most travelers forego their daily exercise regimen, even if they don't mean to. If you're truly dedicated, go ahead and bring it along. But if you have doubts that you'll keep up with your workout routine while you're traveling, leave it at home. Besides, walking around to all the sites is a workout in itself. So I say, given the conversations we've had, I say that you, Amanda, always ignore this advice and you pack your workout clothes when you go away.
100%. To my mind, honestly, the best part of travel is exploring while running.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm just going to put in one little note here. And yeah, I get that some workout clothes, especially in Europe, like that's not your day-to-day wear. But athleisure is kind of, pretty commonplace,
Yes.
eh, a lot. And then it takes up no space compared to your other clothes. I mean,
Right.
like compared to hard clothes, right? Workout wear is easy to roll up and tuck in there. And so I think that device is terrible.
Oh goodness. So talk about how you fit in your workouts, how you plan your workouts ahead of time, do you scout out the locations, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just a given that I'm going to get up and run first thing in the morning wherever I am. I really don't scout it out. I mean, I for the most part, I just kind of walk out the door of my Airbnb and explore and see what I
Mm-hmm.
can learn about an area. And I'll often find over the course of a week, I'll start out with just maybe an out and back, and then over a course of a week, maybe I'll start getting a little more emboldened and try some different routes and things like that. But I love it. And then you spot things that you're like, you take back to your family and you're like, hey, why don't we try this? I saw this really cool thing. Let's try this
Right.
out tonight, this great looking restaurant, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
even open up the map app on your phone and look to see like, oh, there's a park, 6 blocks south of here. Maybe I'll head that way.
Not really. I mean, here's an example. We were recently in Lisbon,
Mm-hmm.
and I did look up. I was like, okay, wonder where you run in Lisbon, and because
Mm,
I knew the city had a couple of high points, and then there was a river down below, and I figured there would be a path along the river. So I did just look
mm-hmm.
to see if that was true, and there was. And so I
Mm-hmm.
knew that in advance, but yeah, nothing specific. And then we just kind of winded our way down to the river and got on the path. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That
yeah.
reminds me of when my family and I were in Kyoto a few years ago in December, and oh my goodness, finding this trail along a river in Kyoto, and it wasn't a very robust river. It had a lot of stones in it, and then they made them kind of artistic so that
Oh,
they
cool.
were you could kind of almost hopscotch from one side of the river to the other on these very beautiful carved stones. And then there were a lot of waterfowl in the water. And oh my goodness, it just gave me such a profound appreciation for the city and kind of the Japanese culture. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so
And
I
you wouldn't have
discovered,
done that otherwise, right?
right,
Like
right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, to me, some of my favorite memories, I mean, I love traveling with my family. I absolutely adore it. But there is something to be said for getting up ahead of the rest of the family.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
particularly, the moms of younger kids are probably like, what are you talking about getting up ahead of your kids? But, you travel with
Oh,
teens or even early 20 somethings, and, there is nothing going on before 10 a.m.
right,
And that's a
right.
big chunk of time.
Yes, agree, agree,
um
agree.
yeah, so I just those solo adventures are ones that I really treasure and kind of burnish and think back on quite often.
Yeah, yeah.
um
Have you ever done races, unintentionally done races when you're in a far flung place? I've done that.
oh
Like just when I get there, I'll be like, let's see if there's anything going on this weekend, and maybe jump into a race. I've done that a couple of
wow,
times too.
that has
Yeah.
never even crossed my mind to do. When have you done that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, here's the coolest one ever. We were in Australia, and behind us it were the Blue Mountains, and I found a 30K trail race in the Blue Mountains. I'm like, okay, and my kids were maybe 9 and 12 or something like that, and so I, worked it out with my ex, and like he was able to take the kids up, and they could explore. I ran the race. I mean, it was just a really cool experience. It was
Wow, so
awesome.
and you had your trail shoes with you, or did you
I
just do them
must
in road
have.
shoes?
I must have had my trail shoes. I can't even remember. It's been so long. I
Wow.
must have. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, 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 yeah. So that was really fun. That was a really cool experience. And I've done that a couple of times too, just,
Uh-huh.
or like if I'm at the beach and I'm like, oh, let's see if there's a 5K this weekend and jump in and do a 5K, whatever it
Uh-huh.
might be.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're so adventurous. um
No, I think it's all part of the travel for me. It really is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you know what I specialize in doing though? I tend to overpack on my workout wear. That
Yeah.
I think, oh, well, I'm going to run for 5 days that I'm gone. So I better bring four pairs of shorts for like four complete different outfits. It's
Yeah,
like, okay, no one cares if they see me in the same outfit, on that morning
exactly.
run. And then
Exactly.
then it does take up room.
Yeah.
And so, longtime listeners of this podcast will know that I don't always wash my workout wear after every wear. Yes, go ahead and squeal at me. Um, but thanks to a suggestion from someone, I do now have in all the time in my toiletries bag, I have a little travel size bottle of Sweatex sport detergent.
Hmm.
And so then, I can wash things out, like particularly a sports bra,
Yep.
some shorts, maybe some socks in in a hotel or Airbnb sink. So that
Yes.
works out well. Yeah.
Yes. Totally. Totally.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so, last, another funny note is I will say that, that running, really is the ultimate travel sport, right?
Hmm.
But there was a time, and I can't even believe I'm going to tell this story in a minute because this is a little bit cray cray. Way, way back in my early days of triathlon, pre kids, um, I think that must have been the year I was doing Ironman. And so I was like really wigged out about making sure I was staying on track with enough time in the saddle on the bike,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and everything else. And I brought my bike to Europe.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah,
That's a big
yeah. Schlepped.
cost.
It's
Uh-huh.
a big cost and well, I think back then you could like that was when you could like check your stuff at the curb and like give them a $20 bill and they would like just do it for you without the $100 charge. I don't even know what the charge is now, but
Uh-huh.
anyhow, do you know what a pain in the ass that was? Like taking it on the train, going from city to city, like
Gosh.
what the hell? Give it up. Like a week or two without time on the bike, you're gonna be fine. So I'm a little embarrassed that that was the person I used to be.
Oh, but speaking of triathlon, another sport that I find very easy to do on the road is swimming.
Yeah.
And I like to research finding a pool ahead of time, what their hours are, because talk about
Yes.
packing small, a swimsuit, goggles, and
Yes.
cap, and oftentimes a lock to put on a locker at a facility, very small. And
Yes,
what
that's
I
an easy one.
definitely always do is put them in a one of those little collapsible backpacks that are just super soft sided, have nothing hard to
Yes.
them. So then it's all right collected together. I don't
Yeah.
misplace anything. And then
Yeah.
boom, put it on my back and walk to the pool or take the subway to the pool and yeah, hmm yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do
Mm-hmm.
you play pickleball when you're on the road?
That's funny you asked that because my family and I recently booked a trip to Costa Rica this December, and I swear it's not the reason I picked one of the hotels we're staying at, but they have beautiful pickleball courts, and so I am going to write to them on Espanol if they provide paddles. And even then, I would say if they provide paddles, I'll probably bring one of not my top tier paddle because if something happened to it, God forbid. So I would bring my own. I'd bring my own balls, but they don't take up all that much room. But I would not pack a pair of court shoes because wearing size 11 athletic shoes, that's what takes up a lot of room is the shoes. So I would, usually I'm very segmented as to what shoes I wear doing what activity, but I would break my own rule and wear running shoes on the pickleball court. But yeah, my son John, when I told him there were pickleball courts, he goes, "Oh, that'll be so fun, Mom." I'm like, "Yes." Okay, let's welcome our first guest. Laurel Short is a family nurse practitioner who lives outside of Kansas City with her husband and two kids. Laurel is an avid triathlete. She traveled to Marbella, Spain last year for a 70.3, and she astonishes me with photos of her workouts while traveling for business or pleasure. Last week, it was a pic of a lovely outdoor pool at a YMCA in Cincinnati, where I assume she was traveling for work. And Laurel is a repeat guest. She talked about migraine headaches on a 2019 episode. Welcome back to the pod, Laurel. It's good to see you.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to see both of you.
Yeah, likewise. So, I know about your triathlon world, but give us a little background on your athletic world overall.
Yeah, I've been running for over 20 years. My dad got me into running. It's actually his 70th birthday today. So,
Aw.
shout out to my
Happy
dad
birthday.
who got me into running. Mostly, for stress relief in my 20s. And then I did my first full marathon in 2009. and mostly did running for many years after that. And then during the pandemic is when I transitioned more into doing triathlon. I'd always enjoyed the cross training, but decided to focus more on, actually training for triathlon races, and have just fell in love with that.
Nice.
Very cool.
Nice. So I know you travel a fair bit for work, giving talks and attending conferences across the U.S. Tell us about a few of the workouts you've done while on the road.
Yeah, I kind of see it as an adventure to research ahead of time and figure out how I can get training in. And, as a caveat, if you're on a family vacation, I never want anyone to feel like they have to fit in, training and sessions when you're on vacation with family. But when I'm traveling for work, I actually really like trying to stay in my routine, maintain training schedule. I train with Coach Jen Harrison, who I met through another mother runner. And she's really wonderful about adjusting my schedule and trying to keep workouts that will fit with where I'm going. So one of my favorite adventures that I had was last summer in June. I went to a national conference, our National Nurse Practitioner Conference in San Diego. And I knew that when I went to Spain, it would be an ocean swim. And I had never done an open water ocean swim. So I thought, well, this would be a great opportunity to try to do a practice swim. And just very fortunately, Coach Jen has a coach colleague who lives in the San Diego area. So she was able to introduce me to her friend, who I then met up with. I packed my wetsuit. I mean, it was a lot of details to bring everything, but it was really just a fun adventure to do an open water swim in the San Diego area.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to ask you what was your most outrageous workout, and it has to be that you packed that wetsuit of yours. I mean, you brought it with you to our Lake Placid retreat and you, as I recall, this was the 2024 retreat, and you had been at a work conference, right? Like you didn't come to the retreat straight from home. You had been at work somewhere, and yet you still had that wetsuit in your bag.
That is correct. It is, and it would be funny if someone who had no idea what was going on unpacked the suitcase, because they would see, professional clothes and then this wetsuit and running gear.
That's excellent.
You have a split personality of Laurel Short. Yes.
It does take a lot of planning with the packing, but it was totally worth it to do that ocean swim. I mean, I was just like on cloud nine for the rest of that conference.
That's great.
So was that the only ocean swim that you did before Marbella?
It was, yeah. And we got to Marbella 2 days early, so I could do another practice or two there.
That's very daring of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks.
So I know you already just mentioned that you often use a training plan with Coach Jen. So if you are trying to stick to your plan, what is key for being able to accomplish that when you're traveling?
Yeah, a lot of times what I'll do is look at the sessions for the week. So I use an app called Training Peaks, which a lot of listeners might be familiar with. And I will move things around if I need to, depending on, when my flight gets in or when I have meetings. But I'll try to get in the workouts for the week. So for example, Sarah mentioned I was in Cincinnati last week. I flew in Wednesday evening. And then Thursday morning, I didn't need to leave the hotel until around 10:30 a.m. So I was able to get up and go for a run outdoors. Certainly, I like to be flexible and use a treadmill when I need to, but I looked at the map around the hotel and felt like it was a safe area to go for an outdoor run. So I got an outdoor run. And then I had also looked up ahead of time that there was a YMCA relatively close to the hotel that I would be able to get an Uber to. So I did that in the afternoon, and then I had a presentation that I did in the evening. So if I'm traveling for work, it's usually to give presentations or to be at a conference. So I can often carve out, a few hours in the morning or a few hours in the afternoon. The other thing that I'll do is call a hotel ahead of time and ask if they have a Peloton bike in the hotel. And I might try to specifically pick a hotel that has a Peloton, because that is the closest that you're going to get to being able to do a training bike session like you would having your bike on a trainer at home.
So when you call the hotel, I mean, do you then, I know some hotels will bring them to your room. Do you let them know ahead of time and they figure all that out, and voila, you get to room 10, 12 and there's that bike waiting for you? Or how does it work?
only happened to me once, actually. I'm not sure how many hotels still do that. One time I called a hotel, this was a few years ago. It was also National Conference Week. And the hotel, actually, the person that I got on the phone got real excited when I asked about a Peloton. And he said, "Oh, we're just rolling out this new trial program of having a bike in the room. Like, do you want to be kind of the test person for that?" And I was like, "Sure, that sounds fun." So I did have a bike in the room just once, but otherwise I'll just call and ask if they have a Peloton in the fitness room. I have had 2 or 3 times where they say yes, and then I get there and it's not
Oh,
actually there. But
right. It's
most of the time it's accurate. And another tip would be you can actually go to the Peloton website and they have a hotel finder, and you can
wow.
put in your city and it will show you all the hotels in that city that should have a Peloton bike.
Wow,
That is
that's amazing.
great.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
worry though that like the Peloton has now become like the Kleenex of exercise bikes. And so
Right.
so this person who's never been on a Peloton is like, "Yeah, sure, we got one." You go there and it's like, "Oh, that's a Schwinn from like 1998."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I can kind of tell by how confident they seem if they're like, "Oh yeah," or "I think we do."
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of when you call a hotel and ask them how long their pool is. The number of times I've been told, "Oh, it's an Olympic-sized pool." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think it's an Olympic-sized pool at your
Yeah.
hotel."
Yeah. Exactly.
Uh, Speaking of pools, you and I have learned at some of our retreats, Laurel, how to get in, quote unquote, lap swimming in a non-traditional shaped pool. Uh,
Yes. Yes, you can get creative with that. That was at Hilton Head and it was kind of like a U shape, right?
yes.
So
Hmm.
I felt like I was in a fish tank kind of like going around it.
As you swam in your underwear, and a sports bra as an
Yes,
Airsets workout bikini.
that was another very creative moment. Yes.
Yeah, but it was funny because I mean, I think that was the third or maybe even fourth time I'd been at that hotel down in South Carolina, and I had on previous visits driven like 15 minutes to get to a true lap pool, and paid the fee to get in and that whole thing. And then when you, Dimity, and I swam at that hotel, it was perfectly adequate. Like it was a kind of fun. It was, oh, maybe I'll go kind of wide this time. Oh, I'll hug the interior this time. I mean, like, wow, really get crazy with your swimming. And
Yeah.
I think to me, from the pictures I see on your Instagram and what you text me, I feel like you do get creative and don't box yourself into things.
Yeah. And I think that is the key is you do have to be flexible. I've certainly had times where I think I'm going to be able to swim and then it doesn't work out. And that's okay. If you're really aiming for a marathon PR or you have a big triathlon in the schedule, then I get it. You're really trying to get those workouts in, but sometimes it's just not always going to happen or you have to shorten it. And if you're using a hotel pool, I would think of it more as, okay, I'm getting some endurance or I'm keeping up some stamina, but you're certainly not going to be able to get in the same interval workout, that
Hmm.
you would in a regular pool. And even with using a Peloton bike, you know what, maybe just go ahead and pick a fun session with one of the Peloton coaches. Don't feel like you have to do the same intervals you would do at home. You're still doing a lot more than if you skipped it,
Hmm.
completely.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
I mentioned in the intro to Amanda that my family and I just booked a trip to Costa Rica in December, and one of the reasons why we're going back to one of the hotels we've been to before is because it has an exceptionally long, interesting shaped pool that every single morning I was just out there. And I mean, it's like the one in South Carolina, but on steroids. It is so much longer. It's almost like a lagoon. And 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 what I forget which one of my kids is like, "Oh, are we going back to the place with the pool, mom?" I'm like, "Yes, we are.
Yep.
Yes."
Yep. We sure are. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you were asking about outrageous things. One funny thing I did last year, we were going on family vacation, which I usually am not super strict about trying to get workouts in on family vacation. But it was late summer, and I knew I had this, big race in Spain, which I had been planning for over a year, and I really wanted to get bike sessions in. So we were going to a lake that was only 3 hours from Kansas City, so it was easy to get to. But I had asked some people I knew had been to this lake ahead of time, and they said it's really not safe for biking on the roads. The
Oh,
cars just aren't, there's not a wide shoulder, it's very curvy. And so I actually took my bike trainer with us
oh boy.
on this lake trip, and I set it up on the patio. We had a rental, like a big rental house, and the patio is facing the lake. So I
Oh,
set up the trainer, it's facing the lake, and it actually worked out great, except the first time we had it on the edge where it wasn't shaded, even though it was covered. So I'm on this trainer for over an hour in the sun, just pouring sweat.
oh.
And it was highly entertaining. My sister-in-law said, I've never seen anyone sweat that much. Like it was just like running off you the entire time.
And you're gazing out at that lake. You must have been dying to go jump in.
Yeah, exactly. So then we moved it to the other side and added a fan, but it worked out great. And my family were good supports about, and it was a lake trip, so we had plenty of time just to hang out. And but yeah, you can definitely get creative and get the workouts in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. How do you balance recovery when your time's totally not your own, if you're traveling for work or on the go all day with your family? How do you manage all of that too?
Yeah, if I'm by myself, of course, it's a lot easier to manage my own schedule, and I'm really strict with trying to get enough sleep. I think that's a huge thing. Sometimes if I can carve out time for a nap in a hotel, I'll do that, or just try to go to bed early and manage sleep. And then the other thing that I really try to focus on is nutrition, which can be hard even when traveling by yourself, because as you know, airport food can be tough to find, things that are nutritious and also enough to fuel yourself. So if I have time, I'll actually prep and take some things with me, maybe
Oh,
energy balls or superhero muffins or, just trail mix, stuff like that. And then, if I land at an airport and I'm not sure what the hotel situation is, I might even like grab a protein shake as I'm leaving the airport or, things like that. So really just trying to get in enough nutrition and enough sleep. If it's traveling with the family, then, it might be a little bit harder. And that's where I think the flexibility and maybe skipping a workout or shortening a workout is really important too.
hmm hmm oh my goodness. So what's next on your race schedule?
I just did Unbound, which is
hmm
a
Oh, you
gravel bike
did?
event in Kansas City. I did my first gravel event. It was I did the 50-mile distance, so it was 25 all the way up to 300. So I was doing one of the shorter distances and went really well. And I had so much fun. I was inspired to look at what other Midwest gravel options there are, and I found a gravel triathlon in Nebraska in late
Oh,
August. So it's an Olympic distance triathlon, but you do gravel biking instead of road biking.
I love
Wow.
So
this.
yeah,
Wow.
so I
That's
think
so
I'm going to
cool.
sign up for that. I think that'll be my next adventure.
Oh my
Nice.
goodness. More
Nice.
mud.
It never even occurred to me that moment was coming. Gravel
Yeah,
triathlon. Why not? Yeah.
why not?
Well, good luck with that, and I will see you in Wichita, Laurel, when we meet up. And I hope you've done some research on pools there, and I know Tiffany's looked up where we can play pickleball.
Oh yeah,
Amanda,
we'll have a full itinerary.
yes, yes, Amanda, Laurel, her good friend Tiffany, and what's the other woman's name? Your other friend?
Emily.
Emily. Yes, they are very kindly making the drive from um, the one side of Kansas to Wichita to see John in Fiddler on the Roof when I go back out there solo. And
Excellent.
yeah,
That's so
yes.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're very excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. All right. Thanks so much, Laurel.
Yeah, thanks. Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye.
All right. Time for another brief break before we talk with another on the go athlete. Our next guest is Angela Grenolds from Oro Valley, Arizona, an ultra runner and a stepmother to two teens. Angela knows a thing or two about traveling. She's a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines. Thanks for joining us, Angela.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Angela, tell us a little bit about your athletic background.
Well, I didn't start running until I was 29. I hated running when I was younger. And I just did a I did a Couch to 5K program. I actually did the app Zombies Run, which was really
yes.
fun. Did a 5K, quickly did a half marathon, met my husband. He got into running with me, and then we did a 50K. I think it was within 2 years of me starting running. So,
Wow.
Wow.
So I've been doing anywhere from 50K to 100 miles for the last, I guess, like 10 years now.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Way to ramp up by a
know.
factor of 10x. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I also ended up with a couple stress fractures in that first year, so not not surprisingly. Now I know better.
Yeah, live and learn. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you're training for the Javelina 100 in October.
Yes.
So I'm curious how your training's going.
It's going pretty well. I was signed up for this last year. I got the job after I had signed up, because you have to sign up like the day that they open registration. So this job was very demanding at the beginning, and I was not able to train for it. So this year I said, I'm starting really early. I'm going to basically have like a really solid week. And then if I need to take a down week where I only run 15 miles, oh well. And then I'll have another solid week. So I've been ramping up. I did 58 miles this week. That's, at this point last year, I was doing like 10, 15 a week. So I feel very ahead of the game at this point and should be good. Also doing some sauna training for the heat.
Oh, smart. Because that race is there in Arizona, right? Or no?
Yes. It's at the end of October, and it can kind of go either way, but it tends to be in the 90s.
We just had a heat expert or environmental scientist. So let's take a tiny tangent. What do you do for your sauna training?
Well, right now, I only do it when I'm home, so I'm only been doing it like once a week. I'm not following any kind of particular protocol. I did 15 minutes the first time. I did 20 the second time. Yesterday, I did 22. I'm going to slowly ramp it up.
Are you sitting in there, or are you running in there?
No, I'm sitting in there. I'm just sitting in the sauna at the gym.
Okay.
Yeah, just sweating it out. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So as a flight attendant, how many trips do you typically take in a week, and how do you fit in your training, especially given the fact that you get your schedule pretty, short out, not a long time, not a lot of lead time before you start your travel?
I'm kind of all over the place. They assign you typically one trip per week, 1 3-day trip per week. But at Southwest, we have a lot of flexibility to be able to trade with other flight attendants and with available trips with the company. So I will sometimes have 2 trips in a week and then none the next week. It's kind of all over the place. I'm very picky about what trips I fly, because I want to have overnights that are long enough that I can run, and I want to be, not by the airport. I want to be downtown so I can actually run and see these different cities. So I'm less picky about the schedule and more about the trip. And if there's one on a certain day, then I'll trade into that one. Yeah. So and typically you work reserve, and that's probably what you're referring to, where you find out kind of at the last second. We work reserve every other month. I am able to pay other flight attendants to take my reserve blocks, and then I pick up trips from other flight attendants for money. So I know where I'm going. I don't get called at 4 o'clock in the morning and told what my trip is for the next 3 days. And that's largely in part because I am trying to train while I'm working.
Sure.
So the arbitrage of all your work gigs.
Yes. I spend a lot of time on there trying to work deals and trade things, and yeah.
So talk about how having the downtown hotel is preferable to one by the airport, because I don't think there's all that many flight attendants listening to this show, but there are people who are planning their summer trips and maybe looking to get in a long run, so that might be something useful for them too.
Yeah, I mean, not all airports are in bad areas, but they're typically, they're often in like an industrial kind of area, or kind of hemmed in by freeways or something like that. Yeah. I will say the Baltimore airport has a bike loop that goes all the way around it. That's like 11 miles. Okay. Yeah. I did that on an overnight. I was shocked. It was pretty too. And downtown is just, you're going to have the green belts and the river walks, and we just have more access to the the purposeful places for people to run and walk are typically going to be more in a downtown area.
For the record, PDX also has lovely trails near it. So
okay, that is good to know. I haven't done that airport one yet, so I'll keep that in mind.
Yes, I sometimes will see people biking up to the airport. And then I also ride my elliptico out by the airport. So there's definitely a lot of, and there's a bike path that runs parallel to the runways right along the Columbia River. Yes. Yeah.
I do like running by airports just because it's cool to have the planes coming in right overhead. Like, I think that's sort of fun.
Yeah.
So any other hacks about planning your runs in advance?
Okay, so I use this website called greatruns.com. It has a page for pretty much every city in the country, including smaller places. And within that, subpages of all the different routes, like popular places to run there. I think if you look up your home city there, you'll be impressed with how thorough it is. Oh. So I always go there first just to see if there's some kind of like highlight run that I should do there. I look at where my hotel is on Google Maps on the satellite view, kind of look for the rivers and that kind of thing. And then I use an app on my iPad called Footpath. It's kind of like Map My Run, but it's an app that works on a, I would think it would work on a phone. I'm not sure. I use it on an iPad. That way I can kind of map out where I'm going to go to get an idea of how long it's going to be. I don't hold myself to it to a T when I actually get out there, but at least I know I'm going to be somewhere around 7-8 miles or whatever if I go to this particular place.
All right. So I know you mentioned before the actual podcast, you mentioned that sometimes you have actually taken public transportation from your hotel out and then run back in. Tell us a little bit about that. How do you figure out how to do all that?
So there's another app I use called Rome to Rio, which you've probably heard of.
That.
Great travel app, gives you different options. And one of those options is always the public transportation. So, or I'll just look up, if I know the city has like a light rail or something, I will look and just kind of see what the map looks like and go, okay, my hotel's near it. Where does it go? I'm not trying to do anything too fancy here. I just want to take it to a stop, get right off and start running. So I've done that in San Jose, St. Louis. I took the ferry across the river in New Orleans and ran on the other side over there. I mean, my first time in a city, I'm just kind of doing a loop and seeing the highlights. But then next time you're there, like, all right, well, let's go a little further out and see something different.
How did you find out and figure out all these apps? I mean, I've used Rome to Rio, but I use that to kind of plan flights. I never thought to use it as a pedestrian.
Well, I use it whenever we travel. Like we travel to Europe here and there, and not with Southwest, just personally, my husband and I. And I use it just to figure out how are we going to get from the airport to our hotel or whatever. Because it'll give you driving, walking, different bus, metro, flying, if that's an option. Yeah, I've just been using it for a while.
But how about all these other apps? I mean, was that just kind of, you just heard other people talking about it, or I'm just impressed with your savvy on that.
I used to be a school technology director, so.
Okay.
But I searched for, I think I just searched for like, mapping, I don't know, running mapping app or something. Like I just kind of Googled it or looked in the app store with some keywords until I found something. I tried a couple different options, but I found that Footpath was the best one.
Okay.
Yeah, very cool. So you take a lot of trips to a lot of different cities. Do you have a standout favorite and, a place that maybe you even do some trip swapping with other flight attendants to make sure you can have that route?
There's a number of places that are really good. I love running in Central Park. I just love running that loop around it. Austin has beautiful running along the lake river
Ladybird
there.
Lake.
Ladybird Lake, and it's wide dirt paths, tons of people out, trees, love that. Oakland, actually. One of our hotels, we stay downtown, or we stay over by UC Berkeley, and you can get up into the hills there behind the college campus, up into the fire roads, and get views all the way out to the Golden Gate Bridge, and really get some vert actually on that one. There's a lot of really great places. I've been impressed with how many green belts and river paths and things that these cities have put in for pedestrians and for bikers across the country. I love seeing that.
Yeah. So how about any packing pointers?
Packing. I actually have. So I have a cube that I'll put all of my clothes in, but it also always has, I don't take this out in between trips. It stays in there all the time. I've got a visor. I've got a naked band that I wear around my waist that holds everything in it. Sunglasses. I always bring my tiny little Patagonia shell, which usually goes in the back. Here's the naked band. Attached to it is a birdie, which
yes.
When you pull this out, it makes a really high pitched sound. So kind of,
yes.
I can't travel with pepper spray or anything like that. So that's my best line of defense. I always have some gels and some packets of Scratch. I have a little Solomon handheld bottle that's like the soft flask, but it's a handheld soft flask. Now I've started bringing also a full size one with a cap, so I can leave the hotel with this one in my hand and the other one in the back of the naked band full of water, just in case I don't come across any drinking fountains, because that you never know. But almost everything just stays in my bag all the time, other than the clothes, and then having to refill the gels if I need to.
That's smart. Yeah. Because otherwise it's far too easy to forget stuff.
Yes, right. I was doing that a lot at the very beginning. Like, oh my gosh, I forgot my water bottle. Now I can't go very far.
Well, you were just talking about carrying water flasks. So given that you spend so much time on an airplane, any tips for staying hydrated for our listeners?
Just drink lots of water. I love it when people order water on the plane. When you order anything else, pretty much you're just dehydrating yourself. So, I try to only drink water. Sure, I could be drinking whatever I want on that plane, but I am drinking water as much as I can. They tell us to try to do because we do cans of water, try to do a can of water every hour or at least per flight. Because you do get more dehydrated when you're flying.
Interesting. And how about recovery while on the road? I mean, you're training for an ultra and your job involves standing on your feet a lot.
Yeah. It's been a little, I'm starting to feel it lately. I'm having to really time block my overnight. Okay, I have to be down in the lobby at this time. I need this much time to get ready, which means I need to be back from my run then. So I have this much time to run because I need 8 hours of sleep. I'm not, I'm generally not going to wake myself up earlier than that, just so that I can get a certain number of miles. I would rather just cram it in when I get home instead. Sleep is the best. The biggest thing that I do. I have not gotten to the point yet where I need to be traveling with any kind of foam roller or anything like that but who knows, as this training goes on, I may get to that point. We'll see.
So you prioritize sleep over miles.
Yeah, I do. If I wake up naturally earlier, great. I'll do the extra mile, but generally the sleep is important because I want to feel good when I'm working too. So.
And finally, how about any advice on finding healthy eats at an airport?
If they have one of those farmers' fridges, it's like a vending machine, but it has little pasta salads and fresh food kind of things. Those are a really good option in an airport. I can't really say much more on that because we travel with our food for the most part. I have a food bag with ice pack bags in it. So I try not to eat at the airport as much as possible, but because it's expensive too, obviously. So, I would say bring whatever you can is the best option. And then if you see a farmer's fridge, go check it out. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Angela, and good luck on that Javelina 100.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
All right. Well, I hope you got some good tips for traveling this summer. Thanks for listening. This podcast is a production of Another Mother Runner and Feisty Media. For more on Feisty and our other podcasts, events, workshops, and Feisty Fest this September, visit feisty.co. That's feisty.co.